Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Since there are 13 nights until Halloween left, I thought that today instead of doing a regular movie review, I would sit down and give you guys horror movie recommendations, especially for people who are new to horror movies. I know a lot of you guys love horror movies and love watching them, but I still thought I would make a list for people that either think horror movies are too scary or just don't really know where to start. And in each of the movies that I talk about, I kind of have a meter where I say how scary I think the movie is. Now, keep in mind, horror is subjective, so what scares me might not scare somebody else and vice versa. For example, I'm not really that scared by paranormal horror movies, but I know a bunch of people are, and I'm more afraid of like home invasion type movies. Yeah, it's just all different. So if you guys watch any of these movies and you're like completely terrified by it, even though I said it wasn't scary, I'm sorry. But I think this is a pretty good list, and it has a bunch of movies from like different subgenres, because the beauty of horror movies, I think, is that there is a lot of subgenres and there are a lot to choose from, because you have zombie, monster movies, you have home invasion, you have paranormal, you have sci-fi horror, you have slasher, you have psychological, which is my personal favorite, along with paranormal. And I would also really love if people that watch this video join me down in the comments and comment down below some horror movies you think would be good for new horror movie watchers or people that are interested in watching horror movies but don't really know where to begin. Like I said, this is just from my perspective, but other people might have other opinions, and yeah, we can just make this a really long list of horror movies that people can come back to and like figure out which movie to watch. Yeah, without further ado, let's get started. The first one I want to talk about is The Blair Witch Project. This is a found footage horror movie, and I really recommend found footage horror movies if you're new to horror, because I don't really particularly think they're that scary. I don't think it's like a super easy piece of cake, because some things did startle me, and this movie does a really good job with giving you tension, but this movie never shows you the Blair Witch, and that could be a good and a bad thing, because I think sometimes it's scarier seeing the monster, but sometimes it's scarier not seeing the monster and it being made up in your own head. But I think this movie does a pretty good job at not being super scary but still keeping you a little bit tense, and I think the story is really nice, and I honestly really enjoy this movie. And I'm not the biggest fan of found footage horror, but this one is one of the best. Also, if you've never really seen true crime, or I guess I should say inspired by true events horror movies, this could really be a good way to get yourself into it. This movie is not at all based on true events at all, but it makes it out to be, because at the beginning of the movie they kind of make it seem like it is real, but it never once confirmed that this actually did happen. But I really strongly recommend this one, and this goes for all the movies on this list, but even if you've watched a lot of horror movies, which I know a lot of you guys have, I still recommend every single one of these movies. This next one, oh my gosh, I love this movie, and hopefully soon I can make a review, a full-on review on it, but it's gonna be Ready or Not. And it's a great introduction to gore. I don't think the movie is scary itself, but it does have a lot of gore, because this is like a slasher movie. A lot of it is literally Grace's in-laws wanting to kill her, because that's the point of the game, the hide and seek game. You have to hide until dawn, because if they find you, they're gonna kill you. And I just thought it was really funny, and the way the characters were made were just very funny. So a lot of the death scenes, they were made fun at. Like, there's this one character that's really clumsy, and she literally kills somebody, and they just say, "Oh, come on, damn it, you didn't get the right one." Like, they just make fun of it, and I think funny horror movies are really good, and this one is a great one, and it has great acting, a great story, and great characters, and it has a lot of gore, so I am warning you there. The third movie I'm going to talk about is The Sixth Sense. I love this movie. I don't really think it's scary at all. There are a few jump scares here and there, and it obviously deals with ghosts and death, so that might be triggering for some people, but I love this movie. It's so good, and it's one of my favorites. And if you guys haven't heard, there's a gigantic plot twist at the end, and I think the plot twist itself is so good that even if you're terrified of horror movies and ghosts, you guys should give this one a try. But I don't think this one's scary. It's a very slow film, but it always keeps you going, and it's never boring, and I think this is really a great one if you want to get into paranormal as well as psychological, because there has a lot of psychological elements in this one. Number 4, Happy Death Day. This one reminds me of Ready or Not because it's gory and it deals with people being killed, but it plays it off in a funny way. Also, something that you can just expect with the movie is you can kind of expect what's coming because the movie does do a Groundhog Day type thing where it just repeats the same day over and over again, and it doesn't get redundant, but you can kind of guess what's gonna come down. I think the scariest part of this movie is the super ugly baby mask, so I'm gonna put it right here. Just get used to it. If you're really scared of it, just get used to it and watch this movie because it's a really nice, fun Halloween movie to watch during this time of year. And when it came out on a Friday the 13th, which I thought was very smart for the movie itself. Number 5, A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place 2 is hopefully coming out next year, so if you haven't seen A Quiet Place, this might be the time to do so. I will say, I think this is the scariest movie on my list. This is a monster movie but told in a different way because it's very different than anything I've seen. A lot of the movie is silent, so you don't really have to worry about those really loud musical scores because it's literally silent. But I will say the movie gives a lot of anxiety. Like when I watched this at the movie theater and I rewatched it recently with my family, I was very tense because it's so silent. You yourself as the audience member feel like you can't talk or breathe or do anything, and they do a really good job of making you feel like you're in there with them, and John Krasinski does a great job directing this movie, so I really recommend everybody check it out. I just do think this is the scariest one on this list. The next one is Psycho. Psycho is a classic, and at one point as a horror fan you're probably gonna watch this, and if you're getting into horror, I think this is one to start. Hitchcock is an amazing director and his movies are amazing, and this one is my favorite from his that I've seen. Although it is from the 60s, it doesn't feel outdated, but a lot of the scares aren't what we would call scary today, and that's just something I recommend. If you guys really want to get into horror but are too afraid, I really think you guys should watch movies from back in the day because the scares back then are not what like modern horror movies consider scary, because a lot of times there wasn't like really big jump scares. It was much more subtle, and this one is a very subtle horror movie, which yes, it is a little bit frightening and eerie, but like I think you would be fine. Even with the death scenes, it doesn't show anything. I don't think it's scary, but it's a pretty good Halloween flick. The next one is Get Out. Jordan Peele did an amazing job with this movie, and this one is very psychologically driven, and this is like completely a psychological horror film, which I love. And these movies I think are really good to watch because these movies are scary in a different type of way because they will get in your brain, so just keep that in mind. It didn't keep me up at night, it didn't keep me scared, but it did keep me thinking because I was like, gosh, I hate people. But I think it's really smart, and I think it has a lot of like things to say about society, and I think when you watch this you're more thinking of that rather than being scared by it. So I definitely think this one is a good one for you to watch. A lot of people also don't watch horror movies because they think the writing sucks, which yes, I 100% get you on that, but the writing in this one is splendid and it's just so good, and I really think everybody should watch this movie. The next one is I Know What You Did Last Summer. And I love this movie. This is one of my favorite horror movies ever. It's not a perfect movie, but it's such a fun slasher movie. I just absolutely love it. And weirdly enough, I love watching this movie in the summer because, I mean, I Know What You Did Last Summer. So I really recommend you guys watching this one. I don't think it's scary at all. It does have jump scares. Jump scares are only scary in the moment. They never keep you really up at night. At least that's just in my case. And it's a really fun whodunit, and I think those are always really fun to watch. I think whodunits are really fun because you're trying to figure it out, that you're just like not invested in how scary it is. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and I hope you liked it, and I hope you liked my little scare meter that I had in the side when I talked about the movies. I definitely really had a lot of fun making this video, and I want to make a lot of more videos like this, like just recommendations. And to the people that have been watching my Evil Dead reviews, I saw Army of Darkness today and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I cannot wait to make a video about it very soon. And yeah, thank you guys again so much for watching today's video, and I'll make sure to see you guys next time. Bye guys!